TSM has failed to make it past the group stage of the World Championship for the third year in a row. The team started off group stage with a positive 2-1 record but saw much worse results come week 2, especially in their games against Misfits. In these games, Misfits expose a couple of serious weaknesses in TSM's gameplay. A failure to execute the win conditions of their team compositions, largely due to indecision and poor communication. In both matches against Misfits, TSM positioned the top lane as their focal point. In Game 1, Renekton is their bridge into the late game Kog'Maw. He can bully Shen to grow a lane lead early, especially if he gets jungle attention, giving Kog time to safely scale into a hypercarry. In their second encounter, Jayce is heavily favored over Cho'Gath early on, and they even have Ryze's semi-global ultimate to help influence the matchup. In both games, getting top lane ahead is key to TSM's victory, but then the team goes on to show a distinct lack of focus on achieving this, to the point where they can no longer use top as one of their win conditions. From an individual standpoint, TSM's members showed indecisiveness across their matches. In a late-game teamfight of Bjergsen's Week 1 match, he has the chance to flash ult Hans Sama on Xayah, who has no barrier or ultimate up. Killing Xayah would probably mean game at that point, but Bjergsen never went for the big winning play. In their second match on Cassiopeia, Bjergsen collapses on a bottom lane gank but plays it too carefully and doesn't go for the flash ult to catch his opponents. A timely route by Power of Evil means he doesn't get any kills from the setup. On the topic of flashes, Doublelift was heavily criticized for not using his in key fights. Whether it was a lack of focus or just miscalculating incoming bursts, it was definitely a shaky showing from TSM's AD carry, who is usually on point in teamfights over in North America. We also saw hesitation over in the jungle. In their Week 1 match, Svenskeren is in a great position to gank top lane. The wave is just starting to push back to Alphari's side, and Shen has no teleport, so even if a gank just forces Shen's flash and recall, he'll lose a significant amount of experience walking back to lane, giving Renekton an important lead. But Sven, even seeing that Max Lore is down bottom, chooses to base instead. The problems for TSM weren't just individual though. As a team, they showed a lack of communication, namely between the jungler and their lanes. In their Week 1 match, the game begins with TSM's bot lane trading aggressively, trying to get Misfits low enough for a gank. But Svenskeren turns around as Ignar places a ward and the gank never happens. The bot lane played too aggressively for the little attention they got in return, and was swiftly punished for it. At another point in the match, Svenskeren moves into the Misfits jungle without information on Shen. Hauntzer needs to call out that Shen has ult and is missing, meaning he won't be able to stop the Shen ultimate. On the other hand, Bjergsen and Sven need to respect these facts, but instead are overrun by the Shen ult. Sven dies and Misfits get a collapse on bot lane using their man advantage. It's also important to talk about the timing of players' backs. You might hear the casters call this resetting. In certain situations, it's important for players to sync their back timings as a team is at its strongest right after buying items. For example, refilling Sightstone in Tracker's Knife, maybe grabbing some control wards is important to prepare control around an objective or move vision up before siege. At around 8 minutes in one game, Bjergsen needs to get a recall to get his Catalyst purchased. This would give him 2 mana items and push priority over Orianna. After that, he'd be able to roam top and try to get his Jayce ahead. Bjergsen's recall gets cancelled twice though, and he ends up losing part of a wave. Instead, he could have called for Svenskeren to help him push out his lane and get a good reset together, so they can look to go towards the top lane. Later, at 18 minutes, Hauntzer dies for a second time. He's caught pushing a side lane with little information on his opponents. Meanwhile, TSM's bot lane is recalling and Bjergsen is soloing the blue buff. The team isn't acting as a unit with their resets. It's a clear disconnect in communication that is hurting their gameplay. On the other side of the rift, Misfits consistently sync their back timings to come out strong and get tempo advantages over minion pushes. In this example, they use the coordinated back to control the Rift Herald. Lastly, it's important to look at how TSM play the map, and here we have to praise Misfits for their side minion wave control. They successfully exploit TSM's indecisiveness with strong map setups. In their Week 1 game, Misfits fight the Baron just long enough to bait Hauntzer's teleport, then immediately pull back. After this, they send Shen to pressure bot and start shoving mid. This keeps Bjergsen from clearing the wave top, and soon Misfits has control over the Baron pit again. TSM is stuck here. Renekton's teleport is down, so if TSM sends someone to defend bot lane, Shen can port in with his teleport or ult, and Misfits will have a numbers advantage at Baron. TSM fails to make a decision for too long, and they're eventually forced to start Baron in order to stop the bot lane push. But by the time they do, Shen has already taken the bottom tier 2 turret and is starting to threaten TSM's base. Later, in that same match after TSM's Baron fades, Power of Evil quickly moves top lane to get a slow push, and later, Shen does the same in the bottom lane. These waves will eventually stack up and crash into inhibitor turrets if not addressed. TSM is put in a similar position once again. They're forced to make a decision and start Baron because they're losing their base. They eventually have to turn, and Misfits win the subsequent fight. Multiple times, TSM's hesitation forced them into suboptimal positions, and when a team is pressured to engage, they're more likely to miss a good engage window or walk into a bad fight. TSM brought 2 major flaws into Week 2, indecisiveness on several occasions and an inability to play around their winning lanes. And then, Misfits happened. The young and internationally inexperienced European team was responsible for 2 of the 4 TSM losses during groups, rarely afraid to pull the trigger and more prepared to execute their compositions. In the end, it was Misfits who would make it out of groups and go on to take 2 games off of SKT.
For more league interviews and analysis, subscribe to our channel. You can also find stats, discussions, and more on our website and mobile app at blitzesports.com.